listening to KCFB Ferguson, 89.5 The Wave, and this is Fear the Dead Air with your host, JazzHandss.
When civilization ends, it ends fast.
That is right. You are listening to Fear the Dead Air here on 89.5 The Wave. I'm your host, your friendly neighborhood DJ, JazzHandss. Starting a little bit late, but still starting nonetheless to talk about last Sunday's epic Fear the Walking Dead 2-hour season finale. And of course, I'm joined with, for the first time, I'm actually with somebody.
Yay!
Yeah, the one, the only Big Boss Man, Paul. He's in here.
Yay.
And we're going to be talking about, like I said, last Sunday's really stepped it up for me. That stepped it up for me.
Yeah. They really did what they needed to do. They're approaching the right level to be on a par with The Walking Dead, with the original series.
Yeah. Hands down. It was nice to kind of sit back, relax, and really start to enjoy this show for what it was. Because I'll be brutally honest, I was really worried about it in the beginning. Season 1 was rough to get through.
Season 1 was hard.
And part A of Season 2, you had your little ups and downs. You had your interesting kind of moments, but I mean,
I would say the A season it showed improvement. It wasn't there, but it showed, okay, maybe this is something we can continue watching.
Yeah, it piqued our interest, and now it's not quite up to Walking Dead standards yet.
Not yet.
But this is close. This is as close as it's gotten in a while, and so I really hope they keep this momentum of really good episodes going. Now, I found it a really kind of weird that they decided to structure 2 episodes into one for a 2-hour season finale instead of actually having like a 90-minute, full-length, full-thought-out episode.
I'm going to go with it, and right off the bat, it kind of pissed me off because Negan, I don't think, got a full 2-hour episode.
No.
Negan's introduction got 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Why the heck are they giving Fear a 2-hour? But then when I saw that they'd split it, I was like, okay, they just shortened it by 1 week. I'm guessing so that they can do a Walking Dead marathon the next couple weekends until the season premiere.
Yeah, I would assume that, or so that they could air that one special that's going to be coming out, which goes over the entire series. From the eyes of like Rick Grimes and.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, and I'm going to talk about that, but we got to get into Fear.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've been waiting for season 7 for a while.
Yeah. We have to finish Fear, and then we get the dessert that is who did Negan.
Yeah, the main course. That's the main course. But either way, the episodes titled were Wrath and North, which I understand Wrath, and I understand North, but Wrath. Whew, okay, look, I'm going to get into it. But what were your thoughts on like the whole like overall structure of these last 2 episodes? And then we're going to dive deeper into the more character-driven developments. But what were your thoughts on kind of like structure-wise, visual-wise? How do you think it held up?
I thought they played everything the way they needed to. You know, all the elements. You had the internal and external conflicts. Mm-hmm. Madison, these guys, their names, I know. I think they were the ones that Travis left Chris with. I'm not going to tell him. I'm just going to try and treat them and, maybe get them the hell out of here. And then Travis ends up finding anyway, and where's my son? We need to go have a place to talk.
Mm-hmm. Good character development.
And that's,
last 2 episodes.
But the internal conflict with Madison, do I tell Travis because he deserves to know they showed up without Chris?
Yeah.
Or do I try and protect Travis? And the one thing that caught me, and I think this was more in North, was when she said, I've done some pretty terrible things too, and I've murdered as well. I don't know that was necessarily after the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I got a little theory about that, and I definitely want to get into that when we focus heavily on Madison.
I think that when you look at them as separate, they play well. When you push them together, I see why they did it, and it was great to see the developments. Like I said, Madison and Alicia,
yeah. Alicia, I got a lot to say about Alicia. I really got a lot to say about Alicia. Both good and bad.
Yeah,
we'll get into it.
There was development with Nick. There was not much development, but at least we saw Ophelia. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last 2 episodes basically touched on every major character.
Yeah,
some of them with a little bit more of a heavy hand. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, yeah, and I would definitely, because at least I believe that Wrath was definitely the more action-oriented one.
Oh, yeah.
And North was a lot more character-driven. I'm not saying that Wrath didn't have any character development in it, but North seemed to have a lot more of the development kind of coming to the forefront.
North had a lot more character development and a lot more just suspense as opposed to action, violence, beatdowns, and the like.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely like the 2 structures. I did find it weird, and I think possibly, like you said, you can understand why they decided to mash these 2 together, probably because they wanted to air more of The Walking Dead to gear up for Negan, because really it feels like Season 7 is... It almost feels like Season 6 was the last, and they're kind of ending it, and now, because Negan's in, it's going to completely change
Walking
the
Dead
show.
version 2.
Yeah, something like that. That's at least how they're treating it. But other than that, for me, I feel that possibly if we did wait the 2 weeks, we would have gotten the really good episode Wrath. And then we might have been just a little bit disappointed in North. Not saying that it was a bad episode, but we would have been a little bit disappointed because if we had to wait a week to figure out, stuff happened. They got kicked out, there was some action, people died, but it wasn't as...
The main action was at La Colonia.
Yeah.
When the cartel came in and were like, they ran like cockroaches, and...
Well, the Colonia...
Alejandro...
When they broke in to get Travis?
Yeah, but that was kind of action-ish. I mean, but that was pretty much at the end of an action sequence.
Yeah.
But the big action sequence in North was when the cartel came in and tried to take over La Colonia, and they ran like a bunch of scared rabbits,
Yeah.
And I love the, was it Marco?
I think so.
That walked in and said, "This is too easy."
Yeah,
and
somebody
then,
knew. So somebody knew something was up.
He knew it, but it still caught him.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And Alejandro, rest his soul, but he did it.
Yeah.
He did it.
Yeah.
He doomed, but he saved La Colonia.
Yeah. I was very conflicted with Alejandro through the entire series, and I kind of wish that he would have been alive a little bit longer so we could really play him out a little bit more, but he did what he had to do. He saved the Colonia, he died, and that was like his one major real, like, last good and testament, the genuine good and testament of what he had to do.
And I loved the reveal with Alejandro when he was bit, and Nick just basically called him out on his BS. He's like, "You're scared. You're terrified because you're not really immune, are you?"
Yeah. I think all of us kind of knew he wasn't immune. He was pulling a Eugene, where it's like, I don't really trust this guy that he has a cure or that he knows what's going on.
I think he's immune.
I think everybody kind of knew.
I really, really think that at some point they're going to go back to that trope, though, and they're going to find someone who is immune.
Yeah.
Who really is immune.
Yeah, and that would be actually nice to see, because you would think that in a world filled with people, even if it is a new strain of a virus, there'd be somebody has an immunity to something.
But going along with what you were saying, I think everybody would have been disappointed if North had been the season finale episode without having Wrath butted up against it.
Yeah, because when you get Wrath, you get that really good action scene, you get pumped up, you're like, oh my god, and then you can kind of ride it out through the rest of North, whereas if it ended, it's like, yes, and then you get anticipation for what's going to happen up next, because, oh my god, this was so good, and I feel that you would be a little bit let down, but visually, it looked amazing.
Yeah.
I still like that they're playing with the hotel, where, especially like when Travis was caged and you see that glass box. I liked how that looked. I liked how the Colonia looked. I've said it before and I'll say it again. With this season, they've had a lot of good looking scenery that's pleasing to the eyes, and they're playing with their environment really, really well.
And their set designs are so different from what you've got in the parent series, The Walking Dead.
Unfortunately, with Walking Dead, you kind of only get their base, like Alexandria, and then woods.
Yeah.
They had a couple good visual stuff, like Negan's one compound with all the satellite dishes. And
Negan's compound, Gabriel's church was a good one, but I really think that Fear has expanded what they can show in the world.
Yes.
And it's really, they've done a fantastic job visually with that, especially capturing California and then Mexico, which they actually have shot in Baja California, Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. They actually went down there and shot.
Yeah, they said that they got the final scene with Nick and his people getting shot at. They were that was actually a border that was in Mexico that they could use. And,
oh, wow.
An abandoned border that they were allowed to use, and actually the Mexican government allowed them to bring guns, actual guns, and fire off rounds and stuff. So that was really cool. But now we got to get into the character development, and we got to talk about the big bad Travis. Travis, my God. Okay,
wow.
I don't think anybody's going to say that Travis is passive or weak ever again.
No, it just, everybody has their breaking point.
Yeah.
And Travis has tried to walk that passive path. Travis has tried to be Farmer Rick.
Yeah.
And it took the death of Chris, but he went from Farmer Rick to they're messing with the wrong people, sitting in a train car waiting to be carved up and eaten Rick.
For the most part, look. My brother said this, and I'll definitely agree with him. Travis right now, Rick ain't nothing. Rick ain't nothing compared to Travis, because with Rick, he's gotten in fights before. And almost every fight, he's lost. He hardly held his own against the governor.
Yeah?
He couldn't even beat up a drunk guy.
Yeah?
You know, they had to stop him. Rick's... he's not as threatening, like, physically as you would think. I still love Rick Grimes for the most part, but Travis took on two dudes at once.
And third came in.
That guy just got caught in the killing spree.
Yeah, Oscar was not very smart. And I really, you know.
Yeah, that was his fault, but for the most part. But it was one of those things where Travis took a chair upside the head. And he kept going. He kept fighting.
He got gut kicked. He got gut punched. He
kept going, and that's where Travis is a beast. And I'm hoping that we kind of get into this backstory and we see, well, this is why he is such a good fighter, because I feel that there's more both to him and Madison that we're not realizing. But that episode, the fight scene between those two.
The Bromigos and Travis?
Yeah, between Bromigos and Travis was so satisfying.
Yes. Yes, it was. And I've wanted to see Travis deck them in their smug little touristy faces from about the third minute they were on screen.
But what I liked most was that you really see the conflict and the confusion a little bit in the way he, killed these guys, because it's like he has this rage to where I'm sure he's mad at himself for allowing Chris to go with him.
Yeah.
He's mad at himself.
Oh, he's definitely taking it out on himself.
Yeah. He's mad at himself. He's hurt. He also, I'm sure, feels that these kids were the ones that drove Chris down the darker path, and if they hadn't done that, so you fully see a range of emotions in Travis's fights.
Okay, first off, I'm going to dispute that last point with you. I think Chris already had an ATV and was headed down that path at high speed, but these guys gave him validation for it.
But us as audience members, we can sit back and we can see that, because we've seen fully what he's done and what he hasn't done. Travis hasn't. Now, Travis, I think, we already know Chris is far gone down that path.
Yeah.
Travis might still think he's not as far, and he can kind of bring him back, because he's in that I'm a parent and kind of denial state. I don't think anybody wants to, come to the conclusion that your child could possibly be a murderer or not have remorse for killing somebody. But at a certain point, it's, you have to go, look at the flowers. Granted, I guess instead of looking at the flowers, it should have been watch the road. with this one.
Stay awake.
Yeah, stay awake, watch the road. But I digress. It was... It's that he was trying to pull him back, and I think it's like you said, the Bromigos allowed him to be more in a group setting to where this is the group, this is what we can do, mom mentality kind of stuff.
And not only that, but they validated that was okay. Look, dude, look, bro. Yeah. Rules are different now, man. You want it, you take it. And that's the way things work. And Chris was like, yes! They think the way I do. I'm sticking with them. And it ended his life.
To the point where I'm wondering if a lot of what Chris was doing was just because he's a very troubled character to where he hasn't had too many people accept him for who he was. And now that these people kind of accepted him for who he was, I'm wondering if he kind of took it a little bit to the extreme. I guess I kind of like that. Granted, it sucks, but I like that Chris's story's done, and now we kind of get to see Travis go through this whole story arc with having to deal with losing his son, like if Rick lost
like having to
Carl.
lose. I mean, he's already lost his ex-wife, who he was at least on semi-decent terms with.
I think
he made sure that she was safe during the apocalypse.
I think it might have been one of those things, and I hope we get into it, because it seemed like the way he talked and the way kind of Madison reacted to a lot of the stuff, I think it might have been her that called out the relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Travis still has very much love for Eliza. Still has a lot of love for Eliza, and so it is. It's that moment once when he figures out Chris is dead that he let her down, he let Chris down, he let himself down, because he wasn't able to protect his kid. And it's like what Strand said, the only hope he has is that Chris is out there somewhere. And now that it's confirmed that he's dead, what's Travis going to do? And that's where I'm excited to see him be pushed into the season 3, and I want to see what's going to happen. But what I loved most about Travis in this was, it wasn't that he was a complete badass and kicked those guys' ass. That was awesome. But it was that he accepted what he did was wrong afterwards, and that he was more than willing to leave the Colonia. He understood. He's like, hey, Madison, you can't be with me, blah, 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 blah. I get it. And that's where I think going into season 3, he's going to become a fantastic leader.
Yeah, I will agree with you. The one thing I do want to disagree, I did not see a big conflict in Travis. I did the first time when they said the driver, he died. And I saw all of that confusion leave the moment he turned and did the door trick.
Yeah.
I mean, he from that point forward, it was, you gonna die.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I'll agree with that,
And
there was a clear motive that he was like, I want to kill this guy. I want to kill these guys.
I did see the regret hit once they were both dead.
But here's the whole thing, because he even said in the episode he didn't regret killing them. What I feel is he regrets that he
killed.
Yeah, that
not necessarily that he killed them. He's happy he killed them. He regrets that he allowed himself to be pushed to the point of killing.
Yeah, he pretty much. I wouldn't almost maybe
he lost his squad.
Almost a little hypocritical, because he's been telling
Chris.
He's been telling Chris, hey, don't kill, show remorse, and now he finally was at that point that Chris was at, but for the better reasons. And what I think is that going forward, he might mope around a lot in season 3 because of what happened. But I think when he kind of gets over this death, he's going to become awesome. And what I love too is I love the scene when they were in the hotel and he's like, "Come on, guys!" He fully accepted that these guys were going to kill him.
Yeah.
And part of me wants to explore more: is it that he messed up and he knew he did wrong, or was it that because Chris is gone, he's kind of lost all hope, and so he's like, "If I die, I die. If I live, I live. I don't really care anymore." At this point, and so I hope we kind of get into that in season 3 a little bit more, or at least explore some of that.
But yeah, Travis, definitely a lot of development in this episode.
Yeah, a lot of development in this
these 2 episodes.
Yeah, in these 2 episodes and in this whole season, because the season's over, so we can kind of do a little bit of an overlay. Like when I first met Travis, I was like, he's a pushover. I don't like him. He's this, that, or the other. And this was fully the moment where we kind of got it a little bit at the end of season 1, and that was kind of interesting. But this was definitely more interesting, and I'm very excited to see him move into the move. And he's one of my favorite characters. He's he's my favorite character on one of my favorite characters on TV.
I'm gonna say this: The Walking Dead had so much to lose first season. They had to establish strong characters that people felt strongly about. Either they hated or they liked. You know, all of these characters were very, very strong, well-fleshed out characters right off the bat. They were in survival mode, and you either loved them or you hated them. Fear the Walking Dead started off pre-apocalypse, so everybody was kind of milquetoast. They were kind of blah, And you're right, for most of season 1, I kind of went, well, really? Because I think we could probably go back through the old episodes.
Yeah, they're on
and,
Facebook.
you know, most of the time, I think when we were discussing Fear the Walking Dead, I was like, I just really don't care about any of these characters. I mean, yeah, okay, all right.
I still remember it. I thought that these characters were very spoiled.
Very
annoying.
Travis, Alicia, Nick. Just really, the only one I had any strong feelings for was Nick, and I didn't like him.
Yeah, it was pretty much all either neutral or negative when we first got into this. And now I really think it's nice to see. And I can't wait for season 3. It's going to be nice to see Madison come back. It's going to be nice to see Travis come back. It's going to be nice to see
how Travis comes back.
Yeah. And so Travis throughout these first 2 seasons. First season's rough. At the end of this season, I think he's definitely one of my favorite characters, and I can't wait to see him move forward. Even more. But there was one other person. I think everybody got a lot of big character development within these last 2 episodes, but I definitely think Nick.
Nick got, I would say, the second most character development.
Granted, I'll openly admit it that during his scenes throughout these episodes, I was kind of more invested in stuff that was going on at the hotel. Just because for me, Nick, I always... and granted, you're supposed to kind of feel this way. I started really liking him part A, and then he kind of plateaued, and then he just kind of stayed plateaued to where I'm like, he's okay. But the Colonia stuff, I really just couldn't get my teeth into.
See, now, I'm different. I actually found it very interesting because, you know, we have nothing to fear from death. Death will come, but we will resist. We will be proof against death, and when the earth is clean, you know, and all this. And Nick's, you could kind of see him back there, sitting in the back while Alejandro's giving those sermons, those pep talks, whatever you want to call them. You can see him kind of sitting at the back going, yeah, I really don't completely buy this, but I'm going to mouth the words along so that nobody gets suspicious. But to me, he came in questioning, and he never stopped questioning. I think he started feeling a little bit of belonging with the living, and I think he started feeling a little bit of a pull towards leadership, which is something that is completely out for Nickel. And you saw him kind of...
Yeah, and
he's stepping things up a little bit.
Yeah, and now that you say that, I really do like that he's gone from I just want to live in a place where people don't fear the dead, to I said the name of the show. To where he wants to be more around living people, you know. And I think he might have just needed his, you know, time in the desert, the wandering in the desert, to kind of clear his head and be like, "There's dangers out here." I'm glad that he's not obsessed with the walkers as much anymore. Yeah, he's really snapping out of it. But what I love is just like Travis, he did something that was out of character in a certain sense that made him better, and that was he stayed. The fact that he stayed, and then when he decided to stay, I think that's when Alejandro was like, okay, I trust this guy now. I can trust this guy. I think he's going to be a good leader, and he can definitely lead my people. And Nick, season 1
couldn't have led himself out. He barely led himself out of the heroin church.
Nick has come a long way. Granted, I think he still needs to think a little bit more, because I'm sorry, no matter what, if you're in this apocalyptic situation, I don't think walking up to the gates covered in blood.
I agree, except for one thing.
Yeah.
Nick is looking at this as, it's the military, the U.S., the government. They've probably set up a refugee camp, and they're going to help people who make it there. Nick is not thinking apocalypse. Even though through everything he's seen, he's still not thinking apocalypse. He's thinking the government's going to be there to help. And I want to touch on one other thing.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say against that is what happened at the end of season 1 with the government.
Yeah.
So you would think Nick would be more wary of.
You would think. Well, Nick may have been high at the end of season 1. We don't know. The other thing that I want to mention is, and it was very brief, but Ophelia's story, where the guy, she was shot at walking through the desert, and then the guy walks up and he's like, "Welcome to America."
That was so annoying because it's like, oh, we're getting into something really, really interesting now with Ophelia instead of her just kind of walking around, remembering stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and then nothing. And Ophelia is one of those characters where she has nobody now.
She's interesting.
She's interesting, but she has nobody now. It's one of those things where when you devote your entire life to taking care of
mom and dad, and
when they're gone, you're like, you feel helpless, and you feel she's one of those characters that needs to be needed.
Yeah, and right now she's completely adrift.
Yeah, because her group can clearly take care of themselves. They're not strong without her, but they're strong with or without her. They can survive. And so that's where I like Ophelia quite a lot, and that's where I'm hoping we get more into her and we see more of Daddy than Mommy. We've been talking about quite a lot, and we still got kind of a big chunk to cover. We got Madison, and we got Madison, Alicia, and Strand to really kind of go over, and they had some character development, not like a lot, but I definitely want to talk about Matt. I want to talk about those characters, and then I want to get into our final thoughts over this season and if it's worth it.
Okay.
And then I want to talk just a little bit about Walking Dead. Season 7's coming up real soon.
23rd?
Yep, the 23rd. It's still like a month away. For me,
No. That's still 20 days. 19 days.
That's 19 days are too long for me.
Oh, me too, but it's still 19 days. It's like
down to the
countdown
wire.
Has started.
We're down to the wire. But, of course, this is going to drag out. Either way, I want to talk about it, and I want to do final locked positions for who we think is going to die.
Oh, I'm staying with where I've been the whole time.
I will too, but I'm going to lock it down.
I'm going to lock it down. Negan, Glenn, Abraham gets up, and either Negan beats him to death too, or Dwight shoots him.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it after the break, because we're going to be taking a break. Stay tuned to 89.5 The Way for more Fear the Dead Air.
Fear the Dead Air is taking a little break. Don't worry, we'll be back. Like the dead rising, we are back. You are listening to Fear the Dead Air, only on 89.5 The Wave.
That is right. You're listening to Fear the Dead Air here on 89.5 The Wave. I'm your host, your friendly neighborhood DJ JazzHandss. Unfortunately, Paul had to step out. College radio, what can you do? GM, boss man, so he had to go. But hey, I'm still here to talk about last Sunday's epic Fear the Walking Dead episode for the 2-hour season finale. And what a 2-hour season finale it was. We talked a little bit about the overall structure, what we liked, what we didn't like within these episodes, the character development, and we got into Travis, Chris's a little bit. Chris, let me just touch on Chris a little bit. Throughout the series, we see him kind of dive deeper and deeper and deeper down into the darkness, and it kind of would have been nice to see him fully play out this the darkness within him. But the fact that he died, unfortunately, means, and he died in such a way, it's one of those things where I kind of like his death because realistically, that's kind of what would happen. It's not every death is going to have meaning. Every death is going to be powerful. Every death is going to have something against it. You're not going to get bit by a walker. Sometimes you might just trip and fall and kill yourself in this world. It happens every day normally. So in the zombie apocalypse, it would happen probably even more. So his death was sad, and it would have been nice to see his character grow a little bit more. But I understand how it happened, and honestly, his death is now going to push Travis forward. But now I gotta get into Madison. Because my God, talk about a woman with secrets, and she's a mystery. She's such a mystery, and that's why I find the character so interesting. It's clear that her heart's in the right place, and she's trying to stay this pillar of hope for Travis, with both saying that Chris is out there, and even trying to comfort him and saying, hey, you did the right thing for killing those guys, or you did the right thing. She's trying to be this pillar of hope for Travis and for everybody around her, but she kind of falls short some of the times. And that's not her fault. With everything where she kind of flip-flops quite a lot. She flip-flops back and forth between what's right and what's wrong, and that's where I think Strand left, but I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But no, she's been trying to hold everything together, and it seems like she has a really big problem with losing stuff, and whenever she loses something, she can't take it. And so she tries very, very hard to hold on, which is why I think she might have, broken her own golden rule. Granted, I also feel that she was conflicted at that moment when she decided, hey, I'm going to go with Travis because I'm not going to let him die alone out there. He needs to have somebody here. I think you could see the dilemma in her face of, well, I don't want Alicia to think that I'm picking somebody else over her. Granted, she could take care of herself, and I'm going to get into Alicia a little bit, but Madison has become one of my favorite characters, and I love her, and I want to get into her backstory a lot more. I feel the fact that she was so comfortable with the killing that Travis did, and my whole thing was, if you watch the whole scene back, you see her kind of like, oh no, Travis, don't. Travis, stop. Oh God, Travis, please stop. Like, it felt very dry, and it felt kind of like she knew what was going to happen if she found those kids, that Travis was going to kill them. Hands down. I don't think there was a doubt in her mind. And the fact that she really didn't try to stop him. I think she felt that those people deserved it. Granted, she might not have been always favorable with Chris, but it was still one of those things where she understood the hurt that he was going through. Just like how he's put up with Nick running back and forth and trying to be a good, stepdad to Nick and everything like that. She kind of felt that too, and she might not have liked Chris, but, I think she knew Travis kind of had to do this. And when she told Travis, I killed before, you see her pause, and then she talked about the witch doctor lady. The witch doctor lady, I don't think was her first kill. I actually really think that she might have been the one that killed her ex-husband before the apocalypse. It's like what Robert Kirkman said. These characters are going in with a little bit of a darker past instead of doing darker stuff, and that might come back to haunt them. Travis was always the peacemaker, but it's clear he can throw down with the best of them, so I'm wondering if there was something there with Travis that we hadn't seen before. And same with Madison. I think that she might have done some shady stuff beforehand, before the apocalypse, and I'm interested to see where it fully goes, because like I said, I could see that she's openly the one that killed her husband. But yeah, her whole story arc through these last 2 seasons have been they've been really interesting. They've been really interesting story arcs, and she's changed somewhat. She's definitely becoming more of a leader type role, but she needs to be in check because she flip-flops back and forth so much. So much she flip-flops back and forth. She tries very hard, and she wants to hold on to her family as much as she can. And I've said that, but what worries me is that we see her go to the one place, and we see her try to find Nick, and I'm really worried that she's going to try to find Nick again. That she's going to get obsessed with finding Nick, and she's going to put everything else out of her mind. And so I really hope that it doesn't come to that. I hope we get a full good story arc, and I hope that we move forward. Like with her and Alicia, I hope we move forward, because it's getting a little bit repetitive for me. We need to get Nick. It's really weird because you watch her and you see that some of the stuff she does, like how she regretted turning on the light because it's like, oh, if I didn't turn on the light, Thief wouldn't be here, and blah, 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 and it's all my fault. Like, you see that she understands what she did was wrong, but then she kind of does it again. It's almost like an addict. It really is almost like an addict. She knows something's wrong, and she tries to stop it, but she dives back in and does it again. And so I'm curious to see where she goes in the future. And like I said, I really hope that her whole thing with Nick, obsessing over Nick and Alicia, and I really hope she becomes more of the leader type role, because I think her and Travis are going to be a dynamite team of leaders, and I really hope we actually get that power couple, how like Rick and Lori were supposed to be. I mean, granted, we got now Rick and Michonne, but I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon. Either way, I gotta talk about Alicia, because my God, talk about such character development within these last 2 seasons. Now, I'll openly admit it. When I first saw Alicia, I hated her. I utterly hated her. I thought she was a stupid character. I thought she was spoiled, annoying. She made so many mistakes, rookie mistakes. Granted, we'll get into that later, maybe. But she was just pampered. She was just a stupid character to me. Talk about a redemption. And I'm so glad I was wrong that I hated her. And I thought that she was useless. Talk about a redemption for Part B. She was out of left field and has become one of my favorite overall characters. She's grown a lot. She's not as spoiled. She's willing to get her hands dirty. She's willing to do what's right. And she's even willing to call BS for both Madison and what she's doing. And even to the point where, and I loved the point in the episode where she openly said, I'm going to go with you, Travis. I'm going to go with, we're all going to go. We're all going to go. And Madison's like, I can't let you do that. And it's like, we're not doing this, Mom. Come on. I'm going to go because family's more important, and I couldn't live without you guys. I would be safe, but I couldn't live without you guys. Come on. We're not doing this. Let's just go. I love that decisive moment with her, and I hope she becomes more decisive. And I absolutely love Alicia. She is fantastic. And the whole moment, too, where she had, besides just telling Madison, hey, this is what up. I like that, she can do what needs to be done now, especially because she stabbed that one person. So now she can do what needs to be done. She both can kill the living and the dead. And she's shown resilience through Part B of trying to help herself survive. She's just shown so much resilience and so much hope, even if sometimes she doesn't think it's there. And I really think that if anything happens with Madison and Travis, this show still has such strong ground with her. And the moment she stabbed that person, again, it was a stepping up moment. And I really hope that's what they said. I hope she becomes this cool kind of badass assassin. And I kind of hope she goes off on Nick. I think there's still a lot of resentment there towards Madison and Nick, even though they got it out in the open. But either way, yeah, she is a complete badass. I absolutely love her, and I can't wait to see her push on. What I think is going to happen to her in season 3, hard to say, but I really hope I really think she's going to become something very special. Something very special in this world. Now Strand. Strand throughout the entire series has been a mystery. We see him at the end of 2. And or at the end of 1, and we see him all the way throughout 2, and he's this mystery. We don't know what's this guy doing. I called him Lucifer when I first saw him because, he just had that way about him, the debonair, the fixed up, the nice guy, and everything like that. And so he was definitely a mystery. And when we see his full story arc come to light, and how he was just trying to get back to the one person he loved the most, and would do anything for them. All the underhanded, shady stuff was pushed back, and he became a really good character. And even after his husband, boyfriend, I'm not really sure, I don't remember their name, even after they passed away, I thought, he's going to be dead, or he's going to be kind of a boring character, but he still was a good character throughout the series, and him and Madison really became close. And I liked that. I liked that they became really close and good and fun characters to each other and became partners in crime, The two of them were a really good team in this apocalypse, and they played off each other really, really nicely. They got drunk. They swapped stories. They understood each other, and that's why I think that Strand decided to stay behind when Madison kind of flip-flop on her own rule and said, well, maybe, we can go, I can't flip-flop, or caused more trouble than it was worth. Because I think Strand definitely, and I believe Coleman Domingo said this. Strand's somebody that likes consistency. He likes when stuff's consistent. He doesn't like the unknown very much, and when he has a plan or when he wants something, it needs to go right, and if not, he gets fairly frustrated at it. So I think he's very frustrated at Madison in that moment. And it's like, come on, you're really going to do this because Travis messed up, and now I have to leave this essentially safe place. And it kind of showed... It kind of showed that snake in the grass again, like I've said, and I love Strand. Don't get me wrong, but essentially his character is kind of a snake in the grass. He's opened up quite a lot with the group, like I said, and we got to see his full kind of character development and his character really come out. But at the end of the day, he still, I feel, as a defense mechanism, instead of going, "Well, Madison, you hurt me because of this or that," he kind of goes back into that gambler snake in the grass method, and so that was what he was doing. He was going, I don't have to put myself out there for you people. But I think it's hurt, and it could also be one of those things where he might be staying behind just in case they get a witch hunt going, and he can kind of talk them out of it, so it's like, hey, they're going to be fine out there. Let me stay here just so if stuff hits the fan and, if everybody maybe dies, maybe I can bring it back. I don't know. I don't know where Strand is, but I'm excited to see where he goes in Season 3. Robert Kirkman confirmed, hey, we're not done with Strand. He's going to be coming back in Season 3, which, thank God, I love Strand. But I'm really, really excited. And it's one of those things where Strand has been such an interesting and fun character because I forget that he only showed up. Like, he just feels so natural now. I forget that he actually showed up, I think, in the last 2 to 3 episodes of Season 1. So he's definitely a staple, and he's definitely a pillar of awesomeness. Coleman Domingo, you did a fantastic job. Everybody did a fantastic acting job, but I'm really, really excited to see where it goes. But all in all, Fear, I'll be honest, in the beginning, Fear had a lot of problems. It had a lot of problems, a lot of character development needed to be done, and I wouldn't have recommended it, and honestly, I was at the point where I almost didn't watch this season, and if this season was as bad, I would have been done. No more reviews, no more anything. I would have just been done with the series. But it took a while. It took a while, and it was hard to get its ground. It was hard to... It couldn't find its footing, I felt, to really get going. But apparently it didn't need footing. It needed to float. It needed to be on water for it to actually flourish into the show that we've gotten today. And I'm proud of it. As weird as that is, I'm very, very proud of it. I'm glad that it kept me on my feet, and I'm glad that these characters have now become so interesting and so ingrained and so much wanting to see. It still has so much farther to go compared to Walking Dead. But with these last 2 episodes and with this Part B of the season, it's getting there. It's getting there, and I fully appreciate it. And kudos to all that worked on it. You played the gambit, and it's starting to pay off. I wouldn't recommend the first couple seasons, or the first season, but if you haven't watched the show yet, and you're contemplating it, it gets good. Just give it, or if you stopped watching the show, watch it. It gets good, and it becomes something pretty fantastic. Nothing but respect for the people that work on it, and nothing but love for the people that work on it. And I'm excited for Season 3. I'm excited for Season 3. Predictions with Season 3. I think, like Paul said, like I said, we're going to get into the American group. That it's this group kind of picking stuff off. That I think Madison and them are going to go to the borders and get captured, and that's where they're going to find Nick again, and Ophelia eventually gets sucked back into the centerfold. Once again, I think these characters are all going to reunite. I was wrong the first time. The only prediction I had was right was that Chris was going to die. But even then, I didn't see that the way he died coming. But I think Season 3 is going to be fantastic. I love that they keep throwing curveballs at me, and I love that I don't really know where the story is going to go. Fantastic job, an amazing job, and keep up the good work. But to switch gears now, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, and of course Paul did his lockdown earlier because he couldn't make it. He had to leave. He had to go do something. But he locked down. He said Glenn and Abraham. I'm going to lock down 2. I'm going to lock down, this is going to be my permanent, this is who I think is going to die. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I told you. No, but I think who's going to die, who's going to get Negan's death is either Michonne or Daryl. One of the two. It has to mean something. And I feel that everybody's thinking Abraham, everybody's thinking Glenn. So I think that it's too obvious. I think it's too obvious. Like I said, I think that the death for Negan's death has to mean something. Has to mean something. It has to hit the group hard. And so, unfortunately, people like Rosita. Oh my God, complete brain fart. I think that people like Rosita, Aaron, as sad as it would be to lose them, Sasha, as sad as it would be to lose them, it wouldn't be as powerful or as meaningful as a Glenn, as an Abraham, as a Daryl, as a Michonne, because we've seen these characters. We've grown up with them, and we love them, and we'd be like, "Ah, man!" Like even Eugene's kind of the borderline, where it's like, "Ah, man, Eugene died. He was getting so good, but let's go on. Let's see what they do." This, I want to be devastated to the point where I almost want to cry. I hate to say that. I know that's bad, but I really want this death to mean something in The Walking Dead, and that's where I think it's going to go. And my whole theory is that I think it's going to be somebody that was in the van, which is Glenn, Daryl, or Michonne, or Rosita. Because you see the first-person perspective in the van where somebody gets dragged out, and then you see the first-person perspective when Negan does the kill. So by that logic, I would assume that it's first-person. Granted, they could throw us off. I could also see it being possibly... I could see one of the shots working where it's somebody by Rick, and you see the blood splatter on Rick's face, and Rick kind of has to sit there with that person's blood on their face, whether it's Sasha or Maggie. One of those two are next to him. If it's Maggie, that's going to be powerful, especially because he's not only killing Maggie, he's killing an unborn child with it, and I'd be interested to see where that went if he did that. But Season 7 is going to be phenomenal either way, but here's hoping that they really do well on that death, and they don't make it that this wait from Season 6 to 7 was a waste of time. Either way, I'm JazzHandss from 89.5 The Wave, and this has been Fear the Dead Air. And thank you. It's been a blast, and Fear, we'll see you next season. Bye, everybody.